sit down and pay attention, because you're about to see how real racing is analyzed. We're live here at the Shanghai International Circuit. If you're looking for basic commentary, go elsewhere. I'm here to break down the details that most of you would miss. We've got the sprint, qualifying, then the main race. It's a masterclass in motorsport, and I'm your professor. Let's see if these drivers can actually handle the pressure. We're in the sprint now, so drivers are lining up, sorting out the tire strats and the formulas for the cars, the setups, and it's time for the sprint. So we'll see how the drivers go and perform around the 5.45 kilometer circuit. I think there is a formation lap for the sprint. It's going to be a reverse grid for the championship standings, which entails that the drivers that are at the back at the bottom of the driver standings will start on pole. No qualifying laps necessary for the sprint race. Only need to have the least amount of points for pole position for tonight. Top drivers are going to have to start at the back and work their way through and try and grab the most points in the session. Position 1 is with 8 points and position 8 is with 1 point. Formation lap on his way now, and I think it's gonna be 12 laps if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to see and wait. Already cars are trying to go racing. Don't want to bump into each other. That will reset them. There we have already 3 drivers that got reset to the grid. Get the telemetry up here. 3 drivers making contact. Hennas, Mick and Paul. All 3 of them making contact on the formation lap. So starting positions are Moose in P1, then Reiger, then Mauri in the Alpine, then Hennas in P4, followed by Mick in P5, the Red Bull driver. His teammate is going to be leading the championship. Then Paul Zis, then the McLaren of Killerdon, Tag Jacobs, Jonko, Rhino Horn, Ragnarok, Sensefold, Happy Terebe, Moldy fighting, and then our championship leader, Tag Trompie. Who will come out on top in the sprint? Who will be the winners? Who will be the losers? And who will have that nerve-breaking tire strat that will absolutely push these cars and these tires to the absolute limit? In about 2 minutes or a minute and a half, these cars will line up, wait for the 5 red lights to drop, and get to full throttle as quickly as possible. Time for the sprint, and we're using reverse grid based on the standings. Finally, we get to see the top drivers, that's Trompie and Fighting, if they've really got the talent or just been hiding behind these fast cars. They're starting at the back, put it in the midfield scrap. I expect most of these drivers to lose the cool and the front wings within the first 3 or 4 laps. Watch closely. This is where the pretenders get exposed. The grid is held at 11,000 RPM, a symphony of pneumatic valve springs, and waiting for the drop. 5 red lights, and away we go in the Chinese sprint for 4Q8. Moose gets a nice launch. He's already ahead, followed by Hennas. Hennas goes past, then he goes off. Hennas leading the field at the moment, starting P3, up 2 positions, then Paul Zis, start P4, he's P2. Moose now dropping down the field in last position. Mauri retired from the session. I think he has some damage, that's why he retired. Paul and Hennas capitalizing on that chaotic turn 1, and then another car goes wide. Who was that? That was Mick, the other Red Bull driver, goes wide into turn 3. Absolutely carnage into turn 1. No ABS, no traction control for these drivers. all on the fuel on that left and right foot of them. Henas needs to pull out the 1 second gap on pulses that is going to have DRS if he stays within 1 second. 310 separating P1 and 2 at the moment. Then Rieger, then Jacobs, followed by Killer Dawn in P5. Then Rhino, Jonko, Sensifold, Tak Moldy, and Rieger gets over. And why is Terry dropping down the field? I think he made a mistake there into the hairpin. On the way to on the back straight, 1.2 kilometers, the longest in Formula 1. Henas getting overtaken by Paulses, goes for the undercut, doesn't get it done. Let's see what happens by the time we get to turn 1. The hairpin, turn 1 and 2, formerly known as the snail, gets onto the curb, scraping that underside, losing a few kilometers per hour onto this mini straight. A small DRS zone for these cars. Sweeping right-hander, feathering on the throttle, down the gears, 3 then 2. Watch out for that oversteer onto the curb. Feather the throttle, don't be too hasty. Up the full throttle, up the gears, deploys 1,000 horsepower beneath him. Is he going to go to the inside? No, he's not going to go for a lunge into turn 4. Oh, and it smacks that back of that Mercedes. Henas wants to get his place back. Started P4, currently sitting in P2. He will have DRS onto the back straight, and that will be a big opportunity if he can keep this gap as it is at the moment. Rieger, P3. Let's see who got the best of this start. So Tak Moldy currently up P6 positions, also fighting, and we have some yellow flags in sector 2. It looks like a Ferrari is stationary, or is it a Haas? Yes, that was a Ferrari of Sensifold that was stationary. Let's see if a overtake gets done by the time we get to turn 14. No, Henas dropping down with his Delta, and Rieger goes to the inside. They make wheel contact into the back of them. Jacobs joins the fight. He gets both of the drivers into turn 14. Mercedes P1, P2, just as we saw it a few weeks ago. Rieger lining up the overtake here into turn 1, but not a lot of battery left for him as Jacobs gets his position and gets the defense nice and tight into turn 1, turn 3, then turn 4. This far sweeping left-hander turn 5. 16 corners. Elevation of this track is going to be 7.4 kilometers. On our way to the fastest corners of the circuit, turn 7 and 8. Fast sweepers of a left and then a right-hander. Pauses at the moment clear of his teammate of 1.8 seconds. Rieger still has DRS to defend against Killer Dawn. Jonko a bit closer, 0.4 of a second between the two drivers. Will he get an overtake done, or will the DRS be effective for Rieger to keep his podium position of P3? Remember, 6 points for him currently. Oh, and he runs into the back of him, forces him a bit with oversteer, goes around the outside. Will he concede the position? No, he will. He'll say, this is hard racing, my man. Let's get it on with. On our way to turn 14. Foot to the floor of the gears, and Rieger goes a bit wide at the exit of the snail corner. Turn 13 opens the DRS. On our way to 330 kilometers per hour to the outside. He go. Will he make it stick? Will that be? They have a bit of wheel bashing. And Jonko gets past, a bit of oversteer for him, too hasty on the throttle. That will cause, how they make contact into turn 15. He will lose out. Jonko drops down the field as he's in the gravel and can't recover the car as fast as he wants to. I think this is on a 10-second penalty for him. That's just absolutely heartbreaking. Pauses 2.3 seconds clear of his current teammate Tak Jacobs, currently sitting in P2. Ragnar also DNFs in the pits. I think there was terminal damage to that car in that incident in turn 15. I think it was him and Jonko that had some scrapping and wheel-to-wheel action there. looks like it's going to be a well-managed weekend for the Mercedes team of Paul Zeus and Jacobs, grabbing themselves worthy of 15 points at the start of this weekend. No qualifying sessions has been run. This will be new data to the teams. This will be new data for the scrubbing, for the aero, and for the strats for the main race coming up in about hour and a half or an hour. Kilodon P3, no DRS advantage for him. He will be a sitting duck for the Haas driver of Tag Fighting, 3/10 behind him. As they head down to turn 14, the hairpin, and he gets the overtake done. No defensive measures whatsoever from Kilodon. Grabs P3, but there's another DRS opportunity coming from them right about now. Kilodon opens the DRS, deploys the ERS, drops the foot to the floor, up the gears, but doesn't manage to get up to P3 by the time we get to turn 1 and 2. That Haas driver looks like he's a bit more faster in the straights with a lower downforce setup. We'll see if some team tactics gets into play as Fighting has a bit more straight line speed. Will he help his teammate of Rhino Horn out a bit here and drop out of the DRS bracket for Kilodon? Currently 6/10 between the two drivers. That means he will get DRS by the time we will get to sector 3. Detection zone will be between turn 11 and 12. You can say that the entry part of the hairpin, or not the hairpin, the snail corner. So that will be DRS advantage for Kilodon. That will help him defend his position of P4 against the Tag Fighting's teammate Rhino Horn. Let's see, I don't know if he grabbed DRS there by the time we got to the detection zone. Wrong driver. He doesn't have DRS, so will this be an overtake done for another Haas? No, it won't be. But I did see there was an overtake done by one of the drivers. I think that was Henas, that got past his teammate Moldy. Was it Teddy Bear that got past? No, it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it was Teddy Bear that got past his teammate, or Sensible, the other Ferrari driver. John Coe, currently sitting in P14. Didn't have a great start. They had a great start, but got into a scuffle there in lap 3. So 6 laps already done. 4 laps to go. 10 laps in total. 8 points up for grabs. Who's gonna make the most of it? Our current championship leader, sitting in P6, getting himself 3 points there. Pulls us 4 seconds clear of his teammate, and Tag Fighting has just got Kilodon out of his DRS. 1.5 seconds separating the two drivers. Will that be a opportunity for another Haas driver to get past the McLaren driver of Kilodon by the time we get to turn 14? 1.2 kilometers straight, 2 cars in the midst of the battle, 1,000 horsepower beneath them, 8 gears at the disposal, and a lot of battery left for neither of them. The offensive move from Kilodon, but not enough closure speed on the back end of turn 14, but that invites Tag Trompy to the fight in the white liveried Red Bull. On the pit straight we go with Tag Trompy 3/10 behind Rhino. Not an overtaking opportunity here, as you don't get onto the brakes. Will he go around the outside? There's a defensive measure from Kilodon, but there's no passing. And Trompy gets to the inside of the Haas driver. What will happen by the time we get to turn 6? To the inside he goes, and he says, no, I'll go a bit later. Not enough time now. Around the outside he goes. Who will get the best traction out of the turn 6? Fastest corners of this track. Turn 6 and 7. There's fast sweeping left and right handers. On our way to sector 2. turn 8, then turn 9, a braking zone. Double apex corner here, turn 9, then turn 10, on our way to the snail corner. Turn 11, that will be a DRS activation zone between turn 11 and 12. As we'll see a white line. And there the Red Bull driver goes up to P4. He's got DRS, so no worries for him. He'll open it now, and he doesn't have DRS, so he will be sitting duck for Kilodon in the McLaren driver. Will that be a defensive measure from? Yeah, not a lot. And he runs into the back of the Red Bull driver. Goes to the inside. Does he concede the position? No, he doesn't. But that will be DRS for Tag Trompi on the pit straight. Opens the DRS, deploys the battery, up the gears, and he gets to P4 by the time we get to the 150 meter mark board. Into snail corner 1, turn 1, then turn 2. Down another gear to gear 2. Not for the Red Bull driver. Stays in gear 3, phases the throttle, short shift to gear 4, bit of oversteer. Deploys the ERS, up the gears. And will he get another few positions by the time we get over the line and the checkered flag? 2.5 seconds. That means 1.2 seconds a lap to get himself up to the podium positions, to secure himself another dominating race from the back of the field. Doug Jacobs has fallen to fighting. I don't know if there was a mistake from Jacobs there. 2.5 seconds, 2.4 seconds separating the two drivers when he was quite smoothly ahead of the Haas driver. Tag fighting, working his way through the field on his way to pole this. An amazing race for these two Haas drivers, or the one Haas driver. Van Horn falling down the field with another incident. Senserfold recovering and is in the midst of a battle. He has DRS, a full battery at his disposal. Onto the back straight we go. Opens the DRS. Not necessary for the DRS as he overtakes Rieger. With Henas in his sights and no defensive measures from Henas at the moment. Nowhere for him to go actually, as he was boxed in from the back and from the side. Wheel to wheel for these two drivers, who will come out on top by the time we get to turn 16. So that will be Henas retaining his position of P7. 2 points being scrapped over between Rieger and Henas. Moldy joining the fight. He will see to help his teammate and get himself the last point of this sprint. Will Henas help his teammate get up to P8 and get the final point and secure 3 points for Aston Martin for tonight's Chinese Grand Prix sprint race. Side by side we go on our way to turn 6. And Henas will still be in front of Moldy, in front of Rieger, I beg your pardon. A bit of a lock up there on the left-hand side for Henas. And another battle up, not long out, and I reckon there will be a battle on the final sprint race, or the final laps of this sprint race. Maybe even now, as the time drops between the Mercedes and Red Bull driver, two enemies, two big manufacturers in this constructors team, in this constructors championship. 7 tenths between the driver. One driver has DRS, one will be a sitting duck as we head down to the 1.2 kilometer straight. Opens the DRS now and deploys the battery. How does the battery situation look for Jacobs? Not a whole lot left, not a defensive measure. Trying to fake dive bomb the Mercedes, hoping for an invite to a late break move and getting yourself up. And Rieger gets past Henas by the time we get to turn 14. So that will be 1 point as it stands now. And Henas gets past again. That's what makes it count. And he's got DRS. All of them. It's got DRS. No, they don't. Henas doesn't have DRS. No. And he goes to the inside into Snail. Turn 1 and 2. Turn 2. So the inside will become the outside. If he can maintain side by side wheel action. But he doesn't. Turn 5. Last lap. What will... And Jacobs loses out on that position. We missed that. As we've got a hell of a battle. Oh, and Rieger spins out. I don't know if there was contact made between the drivers, but a Happy Teddy Bear, Williams driver, gets himself into the points. Raiger falls out of the points. P9, final lap. This is where it's won and lost. Who's gonna make the final dive into the last corner of turn 14? 330 kilometers per hour. On the way to turn 14, we'll have to wait and see. Lot of overspeed on these cars as they're going to deploy all the ERS at the disposal on this final lap, on this last 1.2 kilometer straight for this sprint race. Who will win it? Who will lose it? Who's going to come out on top in these back markers? Opens the DRS, deploys the ERS, up the gears, foot to the floor. Who's going to get it? No defensive move from Hennas. P8 at 1 point for him. If he goes over the line in P8, it's going to go for the and a bit of oversteer for Teddy Bear. He's going to go for the late move into turn 16. That he doesn't. He will settle for P8. What a comeback from Teddy Bear, as he was in P12 by the time we were on lap 6. Finishes himself in P7, grabbing 2 points, and Paul Zeus is your winner for the Chinese sprint race. Well done, dude. Tag Jacobs finishing in P2, then P3, Trompy. Then Jacobs P4, the other Mercedes driver, Killer Dawn, capitalizing on his position in P5. Sensafault P6, Happy Teddy Bear coming out of nowhere and getting P7. Hennas finishing off the top 8, the point scores for the sprint race in P8. 1 point for him. What an excellent race. What a action-packed session. Nothing left on the field. Nothing left. Nothing left. Guys, just give me about 5 minutes. When the session starts, I'll start screaming again. My voice is not gonna hold on if I scream in between sessions also. The sprint was a mess, as expected. Now, we move to the Grand Prix qualifying. This is the purest, no gimmicks, no reverse grids, just raw, unapologetic speed. Watching the telemetry, most of you see fast cars. I'm looking for millimeter perfection apexes, Sector 1, Sector 2, and Sector 3. And what the... Oh yeah. So, everybody's going to retire. So we'll get back into the lobby and then we'll restart the race. I believe we've got one driver lost his way to the field and he gets disqualified. So this is going to be a full start. Drivers will be retiring from session as we've got absolute carnage as they have to retire to get back to the lobby. reversing of the starting line. I've never seen that. Commentary will commence once we start the qualifying. And now qualifying starts. We are live and ready for the qualifying session that will determine the grid for the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, round 17 of 4Q8. The circuit is a true engineering puzzle. It features one of the most technical openings on the F1 calendar, a tightening spiral of turns 1 and 2, the Snell corners, and a massive 1.2 kilometer back straight that tests every ounce of engine power and ERS deployment for these cars. It's the longest straight on the calendar. In the Real World 2025 event, this session was an historic one for Oscar Piastri as he snatched his maiden F1 pole position for McLaren, narrowly beating out George Russell and Lando Norris, his teammate, in a thrilling final shootout. The pressure is on tonight. It's immense. For the teams, it's about finding that knife-edge balance between high-speed stability and low-speed rotation. The curbs will aid in that low-speed corners, that low-speed rotation. For the drivers, it's about navigating these 16 corners, this 5.41 kilometer track, without hitting the front left tire, which is notoriously punishing by the long, high-energy sweeps of sector 1 and 2. The pit lane is open, the engines are fired up, and the hunt for the perfect lap begins now. Let's see who can conquer the Shanghai International Circuit. As we've got some drivers still in the pits, or only one driver, the other 4 drivers are heading out now. Let's get ourselves some telemetry. As Teddy Bear looks like is going to be the first driver that's going to go for it, as he goes into sector 3 onto the back straight. Is going to open the DRS there by the DRS boards, and tag fighting that's sat in P2 for the sprint will be the first one that puts up the benchmark of 133.416. Let's just get it here by 7/10 currently ahead of anyone else, but not for long, as Tag Moldy goes over the line with a 133.619, 2/10 behind him. Paulus, our sprint winner in P4 at the moment. Trompy, championship leader, with a 133 flat, 3.5 clear of his closest rival, Tag Fighting. 5/10 to Moldy. Then another 39 hundredths of a second, thousandths of a second between Paulus and Tag Moldy. Got into a big scrap by the closing stages of the sprint race a few minutes ago. Sensible still sitting in the pits, finalizing his setup, waiting for the perfect time to pounce, and waiting for all these drivers to set the fast lap, to set the optimal lap, and hopefully get himself onto the front row, onto that pole position, and as that's going to be the perfect position to start this race. Get a good launch, get to turn 1 before all the other drivers get late onto the brakes. If you can manage to get through turn 1 and through turn 11 and 12 and 13, by the end of lap 1, your finishing stats is going to be much higher, because that's going to be where most of the drivers gets damaged and gets themselves knocked out of the race and the contention for a win here. All the top drivers going to the pits now. No one is going to do a 2 run except for Teddy Bear. Teddy Bear was one of the first drivers that went out. Maybe he did a double warm-up lap, and he's going to set his lap now in sector 2. Let's see where he finishes by the time we get to turn 12, because our sector ends just before turn 11, the breaking point for the Snell corner of the 3rd sector, the start of the 1.2 kilometer straight, as Tag Moldy already out for his 2nd attempt at the fastest lap around this Shanghai International Circuit. Fastest corners are gonna be turn 7 and 8, the far sweeping left and right, and it's 280 kph for the drivers through that corners. A massive 4 Gs on the next through that corners. The slowest corners is gonna be this one, the hairpin, turn 14, only taken at 60 kilometers per hour. The lap record is held by Oscar Piastri. That was set in 2025, a 130.641. So drivers are quite still a few seconds off pace, relevant to real world events. Teddy Bear didn't seem to go over the line there. He went into the pit straight. Maybe he had a invalidated lap on his first attempt and just went into the pits there on his third attempt, or second attempt, third lap. Sensible still inside the pits, waiting for all these cars until the last few seconds. I think he's going to go out, or maybe has some issues in the background that we're not currently aware of. Mick also needs a lap. Mauri on his way out now, went out of the pits not long ago, as he's still in sector 2. On his way to the fast sweepers of turn 7 and 8. Just finished turn 6, our first braking point of the circuit. Safety car chance for the Grand Prix is going to be 50%. DSC is going to be 35%. Top speed is going to be 341 kilometers per hour with DRS open. Pit stop time lost for the drivers under normal conditions is going to be 24 seconds. Quite a lot for a long track. Time lost with a VSC or safety car is going to benefit the drivers, and that's going to be around about 18 to 16 seconds, depends on where they break over the line of the pit limiter. The tyre allocation is going to be a interesting one, as drivers are going to have to use a set in the sprint, but that doesn't matter anymore because we restarted the lobby. But in any case, tyre allocation is going to be C2. That's going to be the white wall tyre, the most durable of the 3 sets. Then the medium, the C3, the yellow walled tyre, the intermediate pace tyre. Then the C4, the red walled tyre. The one all the drivers are gonna run now, and most probably not gonna see in the Grand Prix. Most of the drivers will be opting for a 2-stopper, as tyre degradation is quite tough around China. The Haas driver of TAC Fighting, beating his rival with a mere 8 hundredths of a second. How close is that? 9 hundredths of a second. 89 thousandths of a second between the top 2. Then a whole nother half a second an Aston driver. Sensible still in the pits. No intention of going out. It's gonna wait for the last few seconds or last few minutes to go out. And Mauri bins it in the hairpin of 10-12. Not having a masterclass of a weekend, as this Alpine is not working with him. Got a bit too greedy on the throttle there on the exit of the hairpin, on the entry of the straight, and losing out on the lap here. Gonna have to try and recharge the battery here and go for another one if the tires are still not in too bad of a shape. And just as I wanted to switch to Trompi, he sets a new benchmark, 132.9, between 132.594, almost 4/10 of a second clear of his closest and nearest rival, the Haas driver of Trompi. Who will come out on top? As it stands, it's gonna be Trompi. That's gonna have another amazing race, another dominating finish to this weekend. Tag Jackets that finished P3 in the sprint, currently sitting in P10. Three drivers still needs to put on a lap. Sensevold, Spinnekop and Ragnarok. As Tromprey has a really good season, dominating season, 343 points from 21 races, or 18 races, 7 wins, 7 podiums, very consistent, averaging about 2.7 positions. Tag Fighting, his closest rival, is in a solid second with 72 points, 3 wins, 15 podiums. And then our retired Ferrari, Adrius Buckle, in third, fewer races, 12 only, but strong efficiency, 18.4 points per race, and 9 wins. Consistency always beats everything. Tag Trompy didn't win the most races, but stayed on the podium almost every time. That's consistency for you there. Our high efficiency driver is going to be Adrius Buckle, that has the most points per race, but fewer starts. That's quite impressive. And the midfield battle is going to be tight. A small point gap, mixed performances, but more DNFs to follow. And Sensible still inside the pits and with Ragnarok. Tag Trompy is absolutely dominating the season with 334 points, super consistent, 17 podiums, and just always up there. That's what's winning is in this championship. In second, we've got Tag Fighting, solid season, 72 points, but just not quite matching that consistency at the top. And then Adrius Buckle, our retired Ferrari driver in the Ferrari, probably the fastest driver on pure pace, 9 wins in only 12 races. But missing races has really hurt the title, and I think they mentioned that he's not returning. A midfield battle from P4 down to P10 is chaos, tight points, mixed results, a few DNFs here and there. This is where most of the action is happening actually. Guys like Tak Moldy, Teddy and Sensivold, quick on the day, but consistency is a big issue sometimes. The season is providing one thing: consistency beats raw speed. You can win races, sure, but if you're not finishing week in and week out, you're not fighting for the championship. Further down the order, it's been a struggle. Fewer races, more mistakes, and more points on the board that's being left. So right now, it's Tag Trompy's championship to lose. I think he's got it in the bag as of it stands now. But others can find consistency where we might still have a fight on hands. It's going to be a long shot, but it's not impossible. Yeah, let's see in the last few seconds, last few minutes of this session, who will come out on top. John Coe in P2, 1.5 tenth behind Trompy. Not a bad lap at all. Sensible on his way out. The Ferrari driver saying, well, now it's my time to shine. Let me show you what I've got in the box. Warm up his tires, get the brakes in optimal temperature, get tires in optimal temperature, don't overcook them, don't start granulating them now, and every apex needs to be, every braking point needs to be precise within millimeters. No wide corner, no grass being cut, no too much curb being taken. Everything on pinpoint actually to take a pole or to take a front row entry into the Chinese Grand Prix. What will it be? Will it be a hard-braking qualifying session for Sensivold? Will it be a dominating lap for Trompy? Will he still be in P1? Or does Sensivold have something in the bag here that we haven't seen? Ragnarok also needing a lap here, currently on an out lap. Killer Dawn DNF'd, and retired from, or not DNF'd, retired from the session. At I think maybe crashed, I can't see now. At turn 6, don't know if he just retired. And Sensifold is on his way. Over the start finish line he goes. Not enough time left for another lap. So this is it. This is his fastest lap that he can put up for this session, for this weekend. Turn 3, smooth and gently out of turn 4. Turn 5, the fast sweeping right-hander. The first breaking point for this Grand Prix is turn 6. Nicely on the apex there. It's the exit onto the curb. Helps the car rotate on the apex there. The fastest corners. On our way, turn 7. Then turn 8. Throwing the front axle into the corner. Rotating the car onto the brakes. Feather it off. Hits the double apexes of turn 9 and 10 perfectly. On his way to turn 11. Finishes sector 3 with a 52.527. Cuts the curb there a bit. That's optimal. Over the detection line for the DRS. The snail corner, turn 13. Full throttle, foot to the floor, up the gears, deploys the ERS. And he's going to open the DRS, and there it opens it. 17 kilometers per hour added to his top speed. 332 onto the brakes of turn 14. The slowest corner of this track. Cuts the corner, but I don't know if that was an invalid. A bit of oversteer there as he's got a driver in front of him. The fuel indicator flashing. Optimal fuel for the lap. Opens the DRS. Foot to the floor. Up the gears. Goes over the line. And only manages a P5. Tag Trompi. Currently sitting in P1. Will this be another dominating win for him? Jonko gets a fast lap. But was that an invalid lap for him? Trompi doesn't get pole. 1/10 of a second between P1 and 2. Jonko with a shocker in the Chinese Grand Prix, in this qualifying session, gets the job done, gets just enough to get himself P1 onto the front row, leading the pack for the formation lap, leading the pack when the five lights drop and the race commences. Tag fighting in P2, 0.14 behind his rival of Trompi. What an excellent, what a masterclass drive for this session for Jonko, coming out of nowhere and claiming P1 for the qualifying session. What a action-packed qualifying session that was. Once the race starts, I'll start screaming into the mic again. My voice won't hold up if I keep talking like this. So yeah, qualifying is done. We've got a bit of surprise at the top. Jonko puts it on pole for the Ferrari. Massive lap when it counted, eh? Right behind him, it's a championship leader. Tag Trompi in the Red Bull, just over a 10th off. He's right there, ready to fight. And our beloved Haas driver, Tag fighting. P3, solid as always, staying in that top battle. Paulus sneaks into P4 for the Mercedes. Very thin lap for him. Sensifold rounds out the top 5. 1 lap for him for the Ferrari. So that's strong pace for him from the Ferrari today. They're definitely in the title fight here. And Tag Jackets, the midfield battles. P6, then Happy Terebe in the Williams. Nice performance there, my guy. Spinnakop, Rhinohorn, Tag Moldy, complete the top 10. Pretty tight margins across the board. So big talking points is going to be for the qualifying. Gaps are super close. We're talking 10s separating most of the grid, not all of them, but most of them, Red Bull and Ferrari. Look evenly matched here. But I think it's going to be another dominating win for Trompy. As we saw, he cutting through the field. But he's going to have to wait and see what the AS driver can do for him. But Ferrari might just have the edge on over lap 1. And keep an eye out for the midfield. Lots of drivers within a second. So the race could get messy real quick in the opening stages of this Grand Prix. So pole goes to Jonko, but with Tag Trompy right behind him, this race is far from decided. Get ready. This one is going to be a battle into turn 1. What an action-packed qualifying session. And so the formation lap starts. The talking is over. The grid is exactly how it should be, on pure raw pace. And the Chinese Grand Prix is finally here. 21 laps of high stakes chase at 340 km per hour. Strategy is everything, and I'll tell you exactly where the teams mess up before they even realize it themselves. Don't blink. You might actually learn something about Formula 1 car today. Jonko leading the formation lap, leading all 17 drivers. 2 drivers already making contact and getting themselves reset to the starting positions, Henna and Ragnarok. I think Henna's also made some contact in the sprint race, so 2 races, 2 sessions in a row that he gets himself into an incident and gets himself resetted to his grid box. Let's get our telemetry data up and running so we don't do that when the action starts. So we've got the majority of the team starting on a medium, only 5 drivers opting for the hard compound, and Kilodon will be the exempt out of the back markers or midfield to go for the offset of a medium. As the drivers line up, they will be starting doing some burnouts, warming up the brakes and getting themselves in a mental state where they can get the most out of this car by the time we go over the checkered flag. As Jonko goes over the line, get himself into the grid box and wait for that 5 red lights to drop. And Tag firing, setting himself up perfectly in his grid box on the line. Let's see who still needs to line up. So we've got one driver, Uri. The grid is held at the 11,000 revolutions per minute. A symphony of pneumatic valve springs and waiting for the 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go at the Chinese Grand Prix as Jonko gets a good launch. But Trompy next to him, next to him. By the time we get to turn 1, the outside becomes the inside. Will Jonko cut back? No, he won't. Trompy gets the lead done. By the time we get to turn 3, then turn 4, a lot of positions getting swapped around in lap 1, turn 4, turn 5, on the way to the first braking part of this race. And Tag Moldy gets it done by turn 6, but it's not over. For Teddy Bear, as Spinnekop also tries to sneak his way past him. Jonko losing out on the start there at turn 1. Didn't get a good launch as he hoped. Didn't get the tire prep. Didn't get the launch off the line. Trompy getting it done again. Another race that's gonna be dominating if it continues like this onto the back straight, the 1.2 kilometer straight for these cars, 340 kilometers in the slipstream. Spinnekop almost gets it done there, goes for a defensive measure. That has driver off, Rhino and Tag fighting, just got a little bit more straight line speed on this line, and the 2 has drivers makes contact into P4 10-14 as Spinnekop gets past. Will he get past him by the time we get to 10-16? No, he doesn't. They make contact. Will that be front wing damage for Spinnekop? No, it won't be, but that will be 2 places conceded for the Kicksauber driver. Will he get up? Enas also sticking it around the outside. No, he doesn't. He concedes it. Waits for the DRS, and the two Haas drivers getting clobbered into turn 14, opening the window for 3 drivers to get themselves up through the ranks, through the drivers and through the field. Ragnarok capitalizing on that action, on that carnival of an incident in turn 14, get himself up into P18. Jonko and Tromping setting up a fight for us on the back straight, and there's gonna be a switchback for Moose, but Sensible gets it done and stays in P14. No traction available for these guys, traction control for these guys, or at fork, mate. No ABS for them for this. Oh, and we've got a car dropping down the field that will be tack moving as we have got some grass on the camera there, and Jonko gets past, and Why is he dropping? Onto the grass he goes, spins out. And he goes sideways. On the back straight. That's not what you want to see if you're running with the top 3. So Trompie, at the moment, having just managed to keep it in front, as he's got 2 seconds between him and the sprint winner of Paulus in the Mercedes, and his teammate again behind him with 1.2 seconds. Trompie sitting the fastest lap of 1.36, and Tak Moldy again getting past Tak Jacobs. Will Paulus help his teammate get that P3 back within the grasp? Teddy Bear capitalizing on that chaotic opening laps of the Chinese Grand Prix. Mick and Henas having a massive battle into turn 1 and 2. Side by side we go. By the time we get to turn 5, turn 6, the first braking part, will there be a late lunge for Mick? No, there won't. He will wait it out until we get to turn 11 and 12, where the detection zone is for the 1.2 kilometer straight, the longest straight in Formula 1. Will with battery and high speed. Oh, and he goes to the pits. Goes over the fuck's sakes. Spins out, makes some contact. That looks like that there is some damage on that Red Bull. The front end plate is missing, so that will cost Mick by the time we get to turn 14. No front end rotation for that car. Will he go into the pits? He has mediums on. He's going to need a safety car if he's going to capitalize on this. This will cost him a few tenths around the track. As the laps tick down, that will cost him. He needs to go and fix that front wing. As Sensefeld gets his way up to P9, past the Red Bull driver of Mick. Jonko getting himself up, but there's still a battle on. It's not set in concrete yet, not set in stone yet, as he's got 2 McLaren drivers battling it out behind him, wanting his position. He needs to get into the DRS zone of Mauri if he wants to keep his position of P12. He needs to move himself up through the field, get into P10 to at least score some points this weekend. Trompie still pulling out a gap on Paulus, the Mercedes driver behind him, then Moldy in the DRS of Paulus. So this will be a 3-way battle for P2, who will be at top as the first part of the pitting starts in about 6 or 7 laps. Henas's DNF's inside the pits. I think he's got some damage. He got into the curb there, got a lot of oversteer, and I think he hit the wall there on the left hand side of turn 6 and 7. I think it was turn 7. And here the battle starts. 6 tenths, 7 tenths between these drivers. Who will be the front running cars of these 3 by the time we get to turn 14? I've got a feeling it's still going to be Paulus, as there was a bit too much time between the 2 drivers. Runs into the back of Paulus for Tak Moldy. No front wing damage as he's hit the car dead center with a nose cone. Is the curves there on the exit? Another DRS open for him here, but no overtaking opportunity for him, just sparing some battery here. Wants to keep it inside the DRS zone, otherwise he's going to be a sitting duck for the teammate. Gets a bit of oversteer there because of the dirty air for the Mercedes in front of him. That almost opened the door for Paulus's teammate Tak Jacobs. By the time we get to turn 3, turn 4, then turn 5, the fast sweeping right-hander, then the first braking part of this circuit, turn 6, 150 meter marker board, get into the brakes, down the gears, gear 2, furthers the throttle up the gears. Will he break the DRS train? Will he break the DRS so his teammate can capitalize on this opportunity they've created for themselves here? 2 drivers against 1. If they play it smart, they will get a double podium for Mercedes this afternoon. Looks like Tak Moldy will still have DRS, but it's going to be a bit far if Paulus can manage to keep this few last turns clean. And it looks like he does a bit of oversteer there onto the exit of turn 11, turn 12, turn 13, finishing off quite nice and tight 4 tenths, 5 tenths between the two drivers. That's close. DRS available for Tech Moldy. This will be an overtake if he has a bit more straight line speed. As he goes for the lunge, and not enough for him there. And they're side by side. By the time we get to turn 15, then turn 16, a 90-degree corner to the left, DRS will be available for Tech Moldy again. 2 tenths between the two drivers. Turn 1 coming up. No realistic overtaking opportunity for them here, as there's no braking zone here. Only downshifts and feathering off the throttle here as they go into the snail corners of turn 1, and then turn 2. Turn 3, the left-hander. Then turn 4, another apex left-hander onto the apex onto the curb of turn 5. Turn 6 on our way, 100-meter marker board, onto the brakes, down the gears, and Paulus goes a bit wide. That opens the door for Moldy. Another few tenths taken off his lead. That will hurt him by the time we get to the back straight. 1.2 kilometers at his disposal, 1,000 horsepower beneath him. DRS 17 or 14 kilometers, and at 2 top speed. That will make it 341 kilometers for the average of these cars. 5-6 tenths. On our way to turn 11, the last sector, sector 3, engages now 1.8 seconds slower than his fastest lap. 4 tenths, and a bit of oversteer there, snappiness from the rear axle there. And we've got yellow flags at the turn. That's going to be Moose, I think. Oh, and there's a car there that's stationary on the straight there. Tech Trompy boxes it. The leader boxes it, pulls this. Paulus again. The leader, and Moldy gets it double up and under on Paulus. Will he go late onto the brakes? No, but he has got DRS. As we go on to turn 1, will there be a deficit on this race as Trompy drops it on the back straight? And Paulus manages to get P1 again. Will this be a nice and tidy weekend for Mercedes? Will this be a hard-grenching weekend for Trompy? These two drivers against Moldy. 2 Mercedes drivers, 2 teammates up against a Mercedes-powered Aston Martin. Who will come out on top? Will they play the team game, or will Paulus get the pace, get the strat, and get the race win, as he's got the race win or the sprint win for this weekend? Trompy not far ahead. He's got a lot of pace. Will he climb himself back? This tyres should be degrading faster and faster as the laps tick down. The stops should start at any moment now. 3 tenths, 2 tenths. That is a defensive measure from Paulus. Defends the inside line, goes back to the racing line, starting his final few corners. Moldy gets the overtake done again, and it's 4 tenths between the two drivers. Will this be it? Will this be Moldy's opportunity to get his race win, to get the 2 Mercedes off his back, to get them off the team orders? And he goes to the inside. Will that be an overtake? That forces Moldy to go a bit wider as Paulus hugs the apex, but the outside becomes the inside as Paulus gets the P1 position. And by the time we get to P3, another excellent masterclass wheel-to-wheel action, clean driving from these guys. No bumps, no damages, and Paulus a bit too late on the brakes, goes wide. That will hurt his leader. That will hurt his time over Moldy. By the time we get to the third sector, where the overtaking opportunities is going to be, and there's big matchup for Mauri. No, that is just guys pitting, and the pitting starts now. That will force the drivers in front to start thinking, will I have to pit now to cover off the guy at the back? We'll see the top 3-4 drivers start heading to the pits in the next 3 or 4 laps. Nice exit for Moldy there. This will be one of his best run-ups on Paulus as of yet. Only 2/10 as we start this 1.2 kilometer straight. No defensive measures whatsoever for Paulus, as he knows there is no denying the overtake there for Moldy. But he goes wide. By the time we get to turn 15, turn 16 coming up, that will be DRS for Paulus. Another 50% lap, but it gets a bit too slow. Minimum speed over that apex. Doesn't hit the apex that clean. Doesn't get to the exit, but he gets to the inside and he gets to P1 before we get to turn 2 on our way. And the inside becomes the outside. Again, Paulus manages to keep P1 for himself. But if it keeps on like this, Moldy will win this race. He goes over the line in front of Paulus every lap from lap 8 until lap 7 until now. So that means Moldy will win this race if things keep on going on like this. But all this battling, all this carnage will invite Trompie back into the battle, back into contention, and back to the top steps of podium. Will this be an excellent race for Paulus? Will this be a heartbreaking race for Paulus? Trompie on his way, as he's got that rocket ship underneath him. For Moldy. Not as clean as the last lap, but still enough to get an overtake done. Will there be a defensive measure from Paulus? Yes, there will be. He goes to the inside, but Moldy goes much more further. So he will grab the apex, he will grab the cleaner exit, and he will get himself into P1. But there's still a battle. It's not set yet. Another DRS for Paulus as we get our final and last corner done. Turn 1 on our way. Will there be another overtake for Paulus by the time we go over the checkered flag, turn 1? No defensive measures. And Jacobs also sneaks himself into the inside of the Aston driver. So now that's 2 drivers that Moldy needs to overtake to get himself to the race win. But we've got 3 drivers into the mix now. We've got a 5-6 car battle for P1. If you weren't excited for the first 8-9 laps, you're going to be excited now, as we've got 6 cars fighting it out for P1. 10 laps on these mediums. They're going to start degrading faster and faster as these laps tick down. We're in the thick of it now, as we head down to the prime overtaking opportunity at the Chinese Grand Prix. Here we go. All of them will have DRS from P2 until P6. But Tak Jacobs will be able to defend from the Aston Martin driver, and they will keep it side by side, and Moose now exceeding track limits. 10-second penalty, that's a bit odd, as Tak Jacobs makes the 2 Mercedes drivers makes this a 2-way battle. And Tak Jacobs getting the better of it there, but Paulus will manage to overtake him there, as we've seen in the last few laps. But that also invites Trompie with, and oh no, that doesn't. Paulus gets the overtake done again. Will his teammate let him past? And yes, he will. He just needs to be careful so that doesn't invite Moldy to the party and forces himself by the inside there. There will be a few late lunges. Let's head down to this car here, Tak Moldy, as we can see all the cars there into the first braking part. Will there be a few lunges? No, there won't, but there will be damage for a car there. I saw some carbon coming off a car there. Who was it? Or was it that just some graphics splattering there? Trompie going to the outside of Moldy, sting it not on a regular overtaking opportunity, but that's optimistic, and he gets it done by the time we get to 10, the double apexer. Not a usual overtaking opportunity, But when you're in the midst of it, you have to go for it. So now it's going to be Trompie in P2, his teammate in Paulus in P7, dropping down the field out of DRS. And Jacobs is setting up now, 9/10 of a second. Trompie has a lot of straight line speed even without DRS. So will this be an overtake done by the time we get to turn 1? Not turn 14, but it's close, and there's contact at the back. I heard it. Tak Moldy spinning into the gravel he goes. I heard the contact there. And Jacobs into the pit, trying to undercut all these other drivers. Needs to get it clean into the pits. No. And Sensefold, our current race leader, new race leader, is going to be Sensefold. The other Ferrari driver, Jonko, P12. Didn't see what happened to him there. Tak Trompie also inside the pits. Tak Jacobs, our real race leader. As everybody, if everybody go in pits, he will be leading this race. But how long? As Trompie's got an absolute rocket ship underneath him. And another few drivers DNF'd in the pits there. Moose, Kilodon and Tak Moldy. Don't know why Tak Moldy left. He was having an excellent race. I think that's because of the damage he got there in 1014. I don't know what happened there. We were on board with Trompie, and this will be devastating to Trompie and Tak Jacobs race, as they just pitted as the safety car came out. So all the guys in front will have a free pit stop now, and most probably will maintain their positions. Full safety car deployed. Only 16 seconds lost inside the pits. All the other drivers that went into the pits before the safety car lost a whole lot of time. 24 seconds to be exact. What an excellent first stint from these drivers. Action-packed. And Ragnar Rock for QM8 stays out, hoping for a later safety car or VSC. And will Sensefold will come out and capitalize on this safety car. He benefits a free pit stop. 4 positions to be exact over all these other drivers. Excellent racing from these guys. So there will be Delta set for. So the Delta will be taken away now as the race leader catched up to the safety car. So everybody full steam ahead to catch the safety car train. And once everything on track has been cleared, we'll get the green lights or the green flags, and the yellow flags will be taken away, and we'll resume racing. And Sensefold out of his skin now. Very happy that the safety car came out when it did. Couldn't have happened at a better point in time, as he would have lost out to Trompie that had a fresher set of hards, and would have gotten the overtake done inside the pits, called an undercut. So it should be 2.5 laps when these other drivers catch up to the safety car. All they need to do now is prep these tires for racing conditions, get the carcass temperatures up for racing action, and get the brakes up to temperature so it doesn't make a mistake and miss your braking point at turn 6. What an action-packed first stint. But let me tell you this, stint 2 is not gonna be less of an action-packed stint, as there's no stops remaining, no pace given, no full stops pointed, and no margins left. As this is where it's going to be won and this is where it's going to be lost. The final stint. No pit stops remaining. No tire saving left. Only pure pace, pure racing, and everything left out on track. Who will come out on top? Will it be Ragnarok? I think Ragnarok still needs to have a pit. Yeah, he still needs to go and pit. But will it be Spinnekop? Will it be Sensifold? Will it be Jacobs? Or will it be Trompie? We've got 14 laps to wait and see who's got the pace, who's got the talent, and who's got the will to make this happen. Safety car in this lap, so Ragnarok will dictate the pace while we creep along the way on the 1.2 kilometer straight. You don't want to be caught napping on the restart, yeah? Not at full race pace now. Car's not allowed to overtake now. And there we go. Ragnarok sends it full steam ahead. Trompie, foot to the floor, up the gears, deploys 1,000 horsepower beneath him. And no overtakes as of yet. Everybody holding position, waiting for the DRS markers. And Ragnarok will be a sitting duck as that hard tires are for 15 laps. And he bends it into the wall. Front wing, no front wing damage. How is that possible? And the Trompie up. Everybody up. Paul Ragnarok bends it into out of turn 3. On our way to turn 4, he bends it into the wall, onto the grass. A bit more stingy onto the throttle. The tires are still cold. Sensifold, our current race leader, will he keep it? By the time the DRS has come into play, that 1.2 kilometer straight is a dream breaker, is a wake-upper for you, having your dream, seeing yourself on the top step of that podium, and then the car comes alongside you, pulls out, and takes that position away from you. 9 tenths between P1 and P2. I think he will get it done by the time we get DRS. 1 second, that will be Spinnekop. He will be a sitting duck if he can't keep himself in the DRS zone of Sensifold. Is he deploying battery? Yes, he is deploying a hell lot of battery to keep up with Sensifold. Sensifold just needs to keep a cool head and stay a second further than Spinnekop. He will then have the guys at the back scrapping it out for P2 while he pulls out a lead and takes the win for himself. But at the moment now, no advantage for him whatsoever, as there is a DRS option for Spinnekop if he manages to keep it within 1 second of Sensifold. So this is where battery will come in play. He has one of two options: burn the battery now, try and get out of the 1 second bracket, or save up and try and defend on the 1.2 kilometer straight. That will dictate, all of that will be dictated on what setup you've loaded. Will that be lower downforce? Will you try and start burning now, as you have got a bit more of an advantage over the guys at the back, or will you? And it's gonna be 1 second. 1 second. So Sensafold will be a sitting duck for Trompy and Jacobs, but they're also scrapping it out into turn 10, turn 11, then turn 12. Tag Jacobs 1/10 of a second behind Trompy. Trompy has got DRS over Spinnekop. He's got a massive top end on that Red Bull. Will he get an overtake by the time we get to turn 14? No, I don't think he will. So Sensafold looks like he's got a bit of more lower downforce setup car, as he's lost a few tenths, 3-4 tenths to Spinnekop at the back. So this will invite the rest of the field to come and play. 5 cars with DRS behind Spinnekop, behind Sensafold, I beg your pardon. Runs a bit onto the grass there with the left front tyre. The front tyre will be taking the most punishment of all 4 of these tyres, as there's 2 snail corners, 2 long bending right-handers that will put load onto the front left and the left rear, but the front left into the braking will take most of the pressure. 3-4 tenths on average between these drivers. Pieter looks like he's falling out of DRS zone, the DRS bracket of the Mercedes driver of Tag Jacobs. He finished P4, P3 in the sprint race, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. We'll just have to go and make sure of that. But one hell of a battle coming up for the race win here. Spinnekop again pulling out, or Sensafold again pulling out of the DRS of Spinnekop. By the time we get to the detection line, that white line you see there on the tarmac is the detection line. So Spinnekop won't have any DRS, only 3 tenths between the top 2. Or the top 3. Spinnekop, Tag Trompy only separated by 2.5 tenths of a second. But it's burning a whole lot of battery. Spinnekop out of battery. And no defensive move. Will he go to the inside? Trompy hit with a 3-second penalty. So that means all the cars just have to stay within 3-second penalty. This will be a delight for Sensafold, as he don't need to defend. He just needs to keep his head cool and keep within the DRS zone. Keep in with the 1 second bracket within the DRS zone of Trompy, and he will grab the top step of that podium. Spinnekop just needs to stay within these DRS. His only battle now on will be Sensafold. If they don't get a 3-second penalty themselves, 14 Tag Jacobs not out of it yet. The Williams of Teddy Bear also not out of it yet. Manages to claw himself back, and Tag fighting out of this race. One of our top contenders out of the race. DNFs. I don't know what happened there. That looks like a terminal car there. We'll see now. When his teammate goes past him, I think he retired. Maybe he's got some terminal damage, side portal floor damage. And that car looks like it's, we'll see if the front wheels are still on it. It's still on it. Yeah, that's some big damage for that car. So 4, 5 cars, 6 cars out of this race at the moment. 6 cars out of 17. Only 11 cars out on track circulating at the moment, and out of that 11 cars, 7 cars in a DRS train. Trompy not fast enough, and he goes a bit wide, attacking Sensafold. By the time we get to turn 14, 9 tenths that cost him, or 4 tenths that cost him. 9 tenths of a second at the back of Sensafold now, the race leader in P1. 8 tenths, 7.5 tenths, 7 tenths, 6 tenths, 5.5 tenths. By the time we get to turn 1, the snail corner, the murderer of the left front tire. No pit stops needed for these cars, except if they have some damage to the front wing. That will help them get them some rotation of the front axle, but that's not going to gain you anything, as we've only got 9 laps remaining in this Grand Prix. Another late safety car will change things up, as some drivers will stay out and some drivers will opt for the fresher, medium, or even a soft compound tire. Never roll out the soft compound if you've got 3 or 4 laps remaining, as the tire is not that durable, but it's one of the fastest tires. 5.5 tenths between P1 and P2. Will this be an overtake for Trompy, as he's got 80% battery in his tank. But also that goes for Sensifold. He's got 90% of battery at his disposal, 1000 horsepower beneath him, cutting through the air, opening a hole for Tag Trompy with the advantage of DRS. Oh, he's opening his rear wing and the gap closing, 4 tenths, 3.5 tenths, closing and closing. Will Sensifold go for the defensive measures? Yes, he will. Locks up the front axle, turns the car in over the curb, over the apex, gets a nice and clean exit, no oversteer, no snatching from the car onto the curb. Is the apex, full throttle up the gears, and that will still be a P1 for Sensifold. If Trompy wants to secure another dominating race, another win for himself, another full 25 points, he needs to get past Sensifold. Needs to get 3 seconds between him and Sensifold. That, and only then will he win the race. Sensifold doesn't need to do much, just needs to keep Trompy behind. Even that is too much. He only needs to keep within 1 second of Trompy, and that will almost certainly secure himself that top step, that 25 points, that golden trophy, the biggest trophy of them all. 5.5 tenths as we go to turn 10, then 11. On our way to turn 11, the detection zone will be just after turn 11. This will be the closest Trompy has been from Sensifold to 4.5 tenths as we head out to the exit of turn 12, then turn 13. On our way to turn 14, the longest straight in Formula 1, 1.2 kilometers to 340 kilometers at the disposal, 1000 horsepower, 8 gears. And he gets the overtake done, but it's not set yet. He needs to get 3 tenths between him and Sensifold if he wants to keep this race win. Not impossible. This is not impossible. He's got a hell lot of pace in that white liveried Red Bull, but the Ferrari behind him, 5 tenths behind him, isn't a slow Ferrari. It's not the one that secured pole, it's not the one that was in the top 3, but it's the one that's leading the Ferraris, and that's at the moment leading the race with the 3-second penalty hanging over Trompy. That 3-second penalty is not servable in the pits. That penalty is only servable at the conclusion of this race. That 3-second penalty will be added to his race time. 6.5 tenths, 7.5 tenths, on our way to 8 tenths, 8.5 tenths between the P1 and P2. Sensifold needs to stay within DRS if he hopes to win this race. He's got a little bit of more straight line speed than the Red Bull driver in front of him. And 8.5 tenths, and he's burning some battery to keep that DRS alive for him, to keep this hopes and this dreams of winning the Chinese Grand Prix against Trompy alive. Turn 13, the exit of turn 13 needs to get, he's got DRS over the detection line within 1 second, so he burns a bit of ERS to get himself within that 1 second, opens the DRS, gets into the slipstream of Trompy, but Trompy's got a lot of straight line speed on that Red Bull of him. 8 tenths, 7 tenths. By the looks of it, Sensifold will lose DRS by the next lap, as he's losing about 3 or 4 tenths every lap to Trompy. Only 6 laps remaining. If you can keep your head cool, keep yourself within the DRS, within 3 seconds, you will win this race. Spinnekop not inside the DRS of Sensifold anymore. Sensifold and Trompy has checked out. 1.6 seconds between these two drivers. 4.5 seconds now. On our way to turn 6, the first braking part of this Grand Prix. No late move for Sensifold at this moment, but there's also a battle cooking and on its way to become one for the eye, as Paulus gets by the Williams driver of Happy Teddy Bear. Tag Jacobs also looking for a podium step, the last podium step, with 5.5 tenths between him and Tag Jacobs. Spinnekop 6.5 tenths, 5.5 tenths, 5 tenths behind Trompy. This will be the closest he has been behind Trompy Will there be an overtake? 7.5 tenths. 8. 7.5 tenths is the highest we're gonna go. 7 tenths. 6.5 tenths. 6 tenths. 5 tenths. Will there be a defensive move from Trompin? No. And he goes for the late move. He locks up the front axle. That will hurt your carcass temperature. That will hurt your degradation on the tire. Falls to 8 tenths of a second, but don't matter. There's another DRS zone coming up. That will aid him to gaining some of that lost time back. But no, not a lot. He was 3 tenths behind him at the end of that 1.2 kilometer back straight. 5 tenths now. Tag Jacobs couldn't get the overtake done by the end of turn 14, so he'll have another 5 laps at his disposal to get himself up to the final positions of the podium. Only 22,000 of a second slower than his previous fastest lap. What an action-packed race we've had so far. 7 tenths. Will he keep it within the DRS? Doesn't need to be in DRS to win this race. Only needs 3 seconds. 3 seconds looks like it's going to be too much of an ask for Trompie tonight, as he can't shake off the pace of the Scuderia Ferrari. Another DRS. Happy Teddy Bear also hit with a 3-second penalty. Jonko will be promoted to P6 if he can manage to stay within 3 seconds at Teddy Bear. As Sensafolds deploys the ERS, opens the DRS, and catches up a bit to Trompie, but 6 tenths between them now as we head down to the final corner of turn 16. Then turn 1, not a high braking opportunity or high braking corner here, not an overtaking move here from Sensafold, as he's 5 tenths behind. Quite a long way to try and overtake on turn 1. Don't want to stay too close to the car in front in these slow moving parts of the track, as you're gonna get a lot of oversteer with the dirty air generated by the car in front cutting through the air and opening a hole for you. These cars want clean air over the front and rear wing, underneath the car, and 7.5 tenths. So it looks like Tromp is running a bit more low of a setup than Sensafold, as he's catching in the whole time in sector 2, the high speed sector, the fastest corners of this circuit and this layout, turn 6 and turn 7, the middle of turn sector 2, and that will be another DRS opportunity for Sensafold. 40% battery remaining. He's using that battery to stay within the 1 second bracket of Trompie. Tag Jackets has fallen back to 9 tenths of a second of Spinnekop. Spinnekop is not holding back. He doesn't have the advantage of DRS, but he's got that straight line speed. As you can see, he's checking out from the Mercedes driver behind him, even with DRS. Only by the time we get to the end of the straight, by the end of we get to turn 14, the Mercedes driver catches up. 7.5 tenths between P1 and P2, 3 seconds between the top 2 and P3. They have checked out. These guys are on a mission to win round 17. On our way to turn 6. The first overtaking opportunity for these two drivers. 9 tenths of a second. This is gonna be hard for Sensafold, but remember, this is the sector where he flourishes. This is the sector where he's the fastest. The high demand, the high downforce sectors. 10, 10, 10, 11. But he's not within. Now he's within DRS. But will Tag Trompie burn some ERS and try and keep and Tag Jacobs gets himself slapped with a 3 second penalty. So that's all it is for him. That's all she wrote. That won't be a P3 for him unless Spinnekop makes a mistake and falls through the order as Paulus, his teammate, won't be gaining a position. He's 6.5 seconds behind him. Spinnekop manages to hold on to that DRS and almost gets an overtake done 3/10. That's the closest he has been in turn 14 in the last 3 laps. Turn 16, our last corner up. Opens the DRS again, and that will only aid him in gaining a bit more time and gaining a bit more delta over his rival in P1. Remember, Trompie is not winning this race at the moment. He still has a 3-second penalty hanging over his head that he still needs to serve after the race is done. Spinnekop will need to work hard if he wants to get a P2 at least. He needs another 2 seconds to get within 3 seconds of Trompie. I beg your pardon, it's 4 seconds. 9/10 of a second. 9.5. Will this be it? Out of the DRS for Sensifold, but there's a corner coming up, and that is where this Ferrari flourishes. No, he won't. He won't get the DRS, or will he? That was marginal. We'll have to wait and see if the DRS opens by the time we get over the line. And he does. He's got DRS. Sensifold's got DRS. He reclaims it. He is gaining fast. 3.5 tenths. He's got DRS. Stays in this fight. Another lap. Another lap. As the laps tick down. 27 laps out of 28 laps. 2 laps remaining. Happy Teddy Bear getting past Jonko, or defending his position against Jonko. Jonko doesn't need to get an overtake done. He just needs to sit 3 seconds behind Happy Teddy Bear, and he will grab himself a 3-second penalty. Reiger also hit with another 3-second penalty for cutting the corners. All 4 your wheels needs to be within the 2 white lines. Sensible still within a second of these 2 drivers, or within 1 second of this driver. Another DRS that will keep his hopes and dreams up. Eight tenths. He's got DRS, and he will burn the battery. He will open the DRS and hope that he still is within 3 seconds by the time the checkers flag waves. Six and a half tenths. Turn 16. Over the line, and the final lap starts. Now it's all or nothing. No battery is gonna be saved by the time we get to turn 16. Everything is gonna be disposed of. Everything is gonna be used to get yourself in a position where you can claim the top step of the podium, the 25 points, the biggest trophy everyone is seeking. That turn 6 on our way. The first the high braking point of this track. 100 meter marker board or 75 meter marker board. Onto the brakes, down the gears, foot to the floor on the brake pedal. Feather the throttle out of the exit, up the gears, foot to the floor. Deploys 1,000 horsepower beneath him. Turn 7, turn 6, turn 7. The fast sweeping left and right handers. Turn 10. The double apex corners of turn 9 and turn 10. He is still within DRS by the time we get over the detection line, so this will be something else. There is some starport damage on the Ferrari there, underneath the intake of the Ferrari. That's maybe why he's struggling with the straight line speed. But this is it. If Trompy can't pull something out of the bag here, this will be P2 for him. And this will be a race win for Sensafault in the Ferrari. As we head down to the penultimate turn, the last turn, turn 16, as we head over the line, and it is Sensafault that takes the win at the Shanghai International Circuit for QMN8, round 17. Well done, Oaks. P2 for Trompy, P3 for Spinnekop, P4 for Tack Jacobs, Paulus, our sprint winner, P5. Then it's followed by Spinnekop. That gets promoted to P6, P7 for the Williams driver of Happy Teddy Bear, Reiger in P8, the Alpine driver, Mick in P9, and then finishing off our point scorers is gonna be 10, Rhino. And that is how you master Shanghai. A dominant performance for those who deserved it, and a disaster for the rest. I've given you the best seat in the house and the sharpest analyst on this platform. You're welcome. If you can handle this level of insight, stick around for the next one. Hit the buttons, clear the chat. I'm out. Stay humble if you can. Ciao.